Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. We're coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. We're very happy to be here with you today. My Strategy radio show episodes are live on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Today, we're going to be talking about being courageous, the many benefits. Courage is the basic virtue. We are our best selves when we are confident and brave. We're going to talk about ways that you can become more courageous and develop our strategy to be bolder and take those risks. Well, very happy to be here with you today. Saturday is a great day of the week to reflect on the prior week and think about all that we've accomplished and develop our plans for the upcoming week. But keep in mind that now or any time is a good time to assess your personal development strategy, because that's what we do here on the My Strategy radio show. Our show continues to grow. We're available on iHeart, iTunes, Player FM, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spreaker, and many more digital platforms. So if you'd like to find this show or other shows in podcast format, you can do a search on Google or your favorite search engine to find them. You can find me on most social media platforms. My Twitter handle is @HawkinsJohn, and my website is johnmhawkins.com. And just like anything in life, we need to have a strategy and a plan to help us reach our goals, because the best laid plans don't always work. Now, this week, I'm looking for stories that you might have about courage. If you have a good example, a tip, or a trick, please send it to talk@johnmhawkins.com. That's talk@johnmhawkins.com. All right, today we're talking about courage, the benefits of being fearless and courageous. Courage as a virtue that we need to help develop. And if we do develop it, it will help us personally develop and grow. We are our best selves when we are confident and courageous. We're going to talk about ways you can become more courageous. Don't let fear stop you. We're going to help you develop your strategy based on the many different stories out there talking about courage. One of the relevant ones is David and Goliath, who illustrated the power of courage in action. What are the benefits of being fearless and courageous? I've got an article here on mindset. It says, have you ever looked at life from the perspective of jumping out of an airplane? What is it that you were worried about? Once you jumped, you have to go where the wind takes you. And I have jumped out of an airplane, and I can tell you that as you go into the plane, get up to altitude, there's nothing else you are thinking about at that point. All your worries, all your fears about other things, right? Your focused attention on jumping out of the airplane tend to go away as soon as you jump out of the plane, and you become focused on that task at hand, a laser focus. People who live with that philosophy are known as fearless or sometimes crazy. But being fearless has some major benefits to outweigh the drawbacks. But note that there is a difference between being confident and being fearless. They're interrelated, but not distinctly unique. Confidence lets you go through your day without the fear of rejection or failure. It's a great trait to have. But fearless is the next level beyond confidence. When you mix fearless with confidence, you have the courage to take big leaps into the unknown. You can live your dreams, build bridges to places that you can't see, and take chances others wouldn't even imagine. Sure, the pain might sting if you fail in your next endeavor, but if you succeed, oh, the rewards. Yes, becoming fearless comes with a lot of benefits. And in this article, they're talking about some of those benefits of being fearless. I think this is an important distinction here. One can be confident. They can go through the day demonstrate confidence, but that is not courage. Courage is when you mix that confidence with fearlessness. And what is fearlessness? Fearlessness is not being afraid even though you might not know the outcome. It is going to take those chances that others do not take, that others would not even imagine. I think it's important that we distinguish between these different words and their meaning because they do mean different things. Courage is something that we all need to have. You can be confident, you can be fearless, but until you combine those two to tackle something that might seem insurmountable, that everybody else is telling you to go one way and you need to go the other way, that is what it takes to be courageous. That's what we're talking about today, is building that muscle memory, that courageous muscle memory, so that you can be confident and fearless and go after what you know is right. They accept your fear for what it is. Most people handle their fear in one or two different ways. They give a nod to it and then bury it in emotions or actions, or they grab onto the fear and blow it out of proportion. When you're fearless, you acknowledge your fear for what it is, your body's concern for your safety. You take that fear into account, adjust your actions accordingly, and move forward. If your safety is truly at risk and you can't take any protective measures, you probably won't follow through with the idea. But if it's a matter of fight versus flight, you'll get through the hard part of it for the thrill of glory on the other side. Number two, they never stop growing. The only time that growth occurs is when you are no longer in your comfort zone. This is a topic that researchers have discussed frequently, and many motivational speakers also cover it. Life is meant to be lived, not repeated in preset patterns. Rejection doesn't faze them. There's another topic in this article. Once you overcome the fear of rejection, it's easier to do anything in life. They know themselves. Being fearless doesn't mean that you don't fear. It means that you have the skills to analyze any problem that comes your way. Asking for help comes easily. You might not realize this, but a lot of people have a difficult time asking for help. They worry about bothering the other person or getting rejected. They don't regret what they didn't do. Regret can be painful. So that's a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today, is that courage. How do we determine when to be courageous, and then when we need to be, how do we execute it? You're listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins, coming live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to talk about courage as a virtue that we need to grow and foster. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to My Strategy. I'm John M. Hawkins. Today we're talking about being courageous. Right before the break, we were talking about fearlessness and courageousness and how the two work together. Actually, fearlessness plus confidence equals courageousness. We talked about, what it would be like to jump out of an airplane. Everything that you might have been worrying about prior to jumping out of the plane would no longer be relevant because you have an immediate action that you need to be thinking about, and that's how do you safely get to the ground. In this segment, I want to talk a little bit about courage. And is courage a virtue? Is it something that we all should continue to grow? To explore this a little, I've got an article here on the features of courage and how it is a choice. Courage is the basic virtue for anyone who continues to grow. The article starts off by saying, whatever course you decide upon, There's always someone to tell you you're wrong. There are always difficulties arising which tempt you to believe that your critics are right. To map out a course of actions and to follow it to the end requires courage. That is according to Ralph Waldo Emerson, whom some of you may know. It goes on to say, across history and cultures, people have regarded courage as a great virtue. It helps people face their challenges with an ultimate goal of helping them to change their behavior. This is according to Miller and Sherman. Courage is an important aspect of positive psychology that allows one to overcome personal limitations and pursue a fuller life. This is according to Diener. Being a courageous person is what maximizes one's chance to grow and develop throughout life. Courage is not a matter of feeling no fear. Courage is the strength in facing one's destructive habits. For example, the courage of an addict overcoming his or her addiction, or the person abused as a child overcoming deep psychological trauma to become a loving and productive adult. As we go through today's show, I want you to think about those things in life that might be terrifying you. Those things in life that others might be forcing, bullying you to do that which you do not believe should be done. Because there's one of two things that you can do when somebody comes to you and makes you do something that you don't believe in. You can do what they say, even when doing what they say might include consequences to your betterment, to you as a person, consequences that could ultimately inhibit your ability to grow. Or two, you are courageous, which means that you're confident, and your fearlessness gets you to stand up to those people and choose your own course. That is what today and being courageous is all about. I don't want you to be fearful. I don't want you to lack your confidence. I don't want you to be forced to do something that you do not believe in, that you do not think is right, that you do not think is going to help better you. So, we all have our different things in life that we need to be courageous about. And I won't give you any examples because I'm sure you will find some. But that is what we are talking about today. We are talking about finding the fearlessness. We're talking about becoming confident and acting with courage as opposed to just going along with the flow. Article goes on. An accumulation of scholarly works define courage in terms of 10 features in combination. Can help us achieve a meaningful goal, help us being authentic, free choice, risk is real and substantial, the action worth the risk, affects regulation. And by that, they mean courageous people have the ability to self-regulate under intense challenges and acting despite the fear. Person is willing and able to approach a fearful situation despite the presence of subjective fear and psychological disturbances. Social support, courage of individuals to draw strength from their social networks. Self-confidence, a can-do attitude. Rising to the occasion. Can people learn courage? Some view courage as a trait like virtue occurring naturally. There's a lot of dimensions that come into being courageous. There's a lot you have to overcome personally to be courageous. And I want you to know that today I support you being courageous. I support you picking those things in your life that require courage, and I want you to know that you have the strength to be courageous and to push back. You are fearless, you are confident, and you can do this. You're listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to talk about how we are our best selves when we are confident and courageous. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this edition of My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. Right before the break, we were talking about courage being a virtue that we need to grow. In this segment, I want to talk a little bit about how we are our best selves when we are confident and courageous. Got an article here. It says, why fearlessness is more important than confidence. And as we go through this show, we do want to make that distinction. One can be confident. You can be the most confident person in the world. But if you are fearful, what good is that confidence? When you are fearless and confident, you can be courageous. And we are our best selves when we are confident. I'm a little passionate about this subject today because I feel that over the past year and a half, we have all been told different things. We have all been told how to respond, how to act. And I want you to know that it is okay to think the way you do. It is okay for you to be who you are. It is okay for you to ask questions, get the data, and it is okay for you to make decisions on your own. And confidence, fearlessness together is going to give you the courage so that you have the ability to control your destiny. This article starts out by saying some of the benefits of confidence are the ability to be yourself, processing greater courage, speaking your mind, feeling good about yourself, staying calm despite unfavorable circumstances, and having greater appeal as a friend or a mate. But there is one thing that's even stronger than confidence, and that is fearlessness. Why is fearlessness so powerful? Fearlessness and confidence are closely related. If you don't fear anything, you will naturally be confident, because a lack of confidence is primarily caused by fear of rejection, danger, or failure. So, you could say that confidence is a byproduct of fearlessness. Fearlessness enables people to do unbelievable things. Unbelievable things. Like climb a skyscraper, launch their body across the goal line in football. Most importantly, boldly live their ideal lives. Most people wanting to be more confident will aim directly for confidence. But I think they could have better success by aiming for fearlessness. In many ways, it's a more direct approach to being confident. When you try to be confident, you're attempting to build yourself higher than your fears in a I can do this kind of way. The article goes on to say how fearlessness becomes confidence. Imagine you see an attractive person and want to talk to him or her. And for those of us that are happily married, let's just say it's not an attractive person, but it is someone with whom we hold in high regard. It could be somebody who is a a celebrity. It could be somebody who we've wanted to reach out to get their feedback on. It could be anyone. But this example is an attractive person. But you aren't confident enough. To try to gain confidence at this point is going to be very difficult. Confidence comes from within, so it takes time to improve your baseline confidence. Though there are some of the moment strategies like confident body language that can physiologically increase your confidence. But what if you attempted to conquer your fears as a way to become more confident? Once you identify your fears, you can find some weakness in their armor. First, you address your fear of rejection. The person might respond negatively to you if you were to go up and talk to them. He or she could laugh at you and embarrass you. However, these rejection scenarios are only scary or embarrassing for a few seconds. Can't you handle that as a worst scenario? Are you going to let yourself be scared of 5 seconds of awkwardness or discomfort? This applies to any possible rejection scenario, from asking for a raise to asking for a job to asking anyone. And I think this is important to be thinking about at this point, because there's so many people in our society that are making the rules. There are so many people out there who are defining how we must live. And if we were to go and be in a face-to-face with them, and let's say we disagreed with a policy of theirs, or let's say something that they were doing affected us, would we have the courage to stop and talk to them? Would we have the courage to express our fears to them? What about if this was your boss or somebody that you felt subjective to? It changes it, right? It's just like this scenario where this person's going to go ask the girl out and talk to her, or the other way. If you have to go talk to somebody who is in a position of power, do you have enough courage and fearlessness to speak your mind? Or are you afraid that you will be rejected? Are you afraid that you will be made fun of? Are you afraid that you will be mocked? I think in today's society, it is the case where that is the norm. You are mocked for what you might believe. Whatever you say can be examined with scrutiny, and somebody will say something about what you have said that is not accurate because they don't approve of it. And this is a tactic that is being used to discourage healthy communication. It is a tactic that is being used to keep you fearful. You are fearful because of this. And if you don't have fearlessness, even if you're confident, you will not have courage. And that is what is happening. That is what happens. You might have confidence and you might know that something isn't right and you need to stand against it. But if someone makes you fearful, what if you lose your job? What if somebody will share this publicly? What happens if a friend or family member finds out? What will they call you? It happens every day. It happens in work situations. What if someone is stealing from an organization, stealing from the company, and they're confident that they know that person is stealing, but the person stealing is, making them fearful? How do you have the courage to stand out and tell the right people in the organization that this is happening? The fear of failure can be dissolved with some logic. There's 7 billion people in this world, and every single one of us has a different tastes and preferences. If you're a good and honest person, then most people are going to at least like you as a friend. People tend to be irrationally scared of approaching strangers. That logic in that any single case of rejection is a single instance. So if you're willing to keep trying, you'll find success. The article goes on to talk about what happens when you remove the fear and has some other good examples. You're listening to My Strategy. I'm your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to talk about ways you can be more courageous, and don't let fear stop us. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this edition of My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. Well, if you're just joining us, welcome. So happy that you could join us here today. My Strategy radio show episodes are live. They're on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Today we are talking about courage and the many benefits of being courageous. Courage is the basic virtue, and we are all our best selves when we are confident and brave. We've been talking about how to be more courageous and talk about developing our strategy to be bolder and take those confident, fearless risks. Right before the break, we were talking about how we can be our best selves when we are confident, fearless, which equates to being courageous. And in this segment, I want to talk about ways that we can live a more courageous life. So hopefully by now in the show, at this point in the show, you've decided that being courageous, you know what it is, right? We know what being courageous is, and now we've agreed that it would be good for us to learn to be a little bit more courageous. So that's what we're going to be talking about. Got an article here by Rhett Power. It says, it's called 10 Ways to Live a More Courageous Life. Rhett says, I talk to and coach a lot of people, and the most common thing that gets in people's way of success is fear. He says, most of us have a little voice that sits on your shoulder and whispers in your ear. This is when you're going to try something. Ooh, that's pretty dangerous. Watch out. Just wait. Give it time. I'm not sure about that. And my favorite, I wouldn't do that if I was you. Rhett says, we often let fear dictate our decisions. However, living in a courageous life is one of the best ways to find success in your business and personal life. And in fact, according to Aristotle, courage is the first human virtue because it makes all the others possible. He says famous positive thinker Dale Carnegie once advised people to do the thing they fear as the quickest way to conquer fear. So how do you banish fear and live the life you want to? Rhett goes through these 10 different ways to do it, and we're going to go through them today. Embrace vulnerability. People who live fear-based lives often have little or no confidence in themselves. If you feel afraid of other people seeing who you are, open up and become more vulnerable. And vulnerability is a big thing. If somebody knows our weaknesses, and our weaknesses are, those vulnerabilities are like what kryptonite is to Superman. As soon as that kryptonite is exposed, Superman is not powerful anymore. And there are things out there that we see as vulnerabilities, and we stay away from them. We stay as far away as we can. And you have to tell me what your vulnerabilities are. But I can tell you that from my experience, vulnerabilities can be a lot of things, right? You could be vulnerable that you fear public speaking, or you fear going and doing a recording and then playing it back and listening to yourself being played back. That's a vulnerability that I might have had at one point or another in my life. And how did I conquer it? I practiced. I went out and did public speaking. I went out and recorded myself and played it back. And it was painful. It was hard because I am not perfect. I don't like seeing myself on camera. I don't like to hear my voice. But you know what? I was never going to overcome that fear unless I directly addressed it in that manner. So they say it's important for us to embrace your vulnerabilities. Admit that you have fears. Admit that you have fears. What are your fears? Can you list them? You know, certainly there's things like fear of heights, fear of fire, fear of car accidents. There's lots of fears out there. But the question is, what are those fears or phobias that are keeping you from getting ahead? What are those fears that if you could conquer them tomorrow, you would be in a better position to accomplish those goals, that which you have set for yourself? That is what we need to identify. There's natural fears that we all should have. If a stove is turned on or if the oven is on, I am not going to put my hand in the oven. I am not going to place my hand on a stove top that is turned too high. Those are rational fears. The irrational fears are things like, I'm scared to come and talk to someone. I'm scared to stand up. So we want to start thinking about this. Be positive. Find ways to reduce your stress. Demonstrate the courage. Know there will be failure, but press forward. Cope with your risk and uncertainty. Continue to learn and accept your challenges in life. You're listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network. We're going to take a quick break, and we come back. We're going to help you develop your strategy. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I'm John M. Hawkins. The show is called My Strategy. Today, we've been talking about courageousness. Right before the break, we were talking about ways that we could be more courageous. In this segment, I want to talk about how you are going to build your strategy, how you are going to be more courageous. Keeping in mind that in this segment, we usually talk about our 5-step process to building a strategy. Got to keep it real simple, right? I mean, you can't have it too complicated. Otherwise, not everybody would do it. But essentially, it's the awareness that we have something we want to change, aligning it to our vision, our goals. Assessing and analyzing. By assessing the situation and doing some analysis, we can figure out the steps to take. Strategize and plan. What are some of those courses of actions that we can implement? We then implement the plan, and then we look for support. So from a perspective of awareness and assessing and analyzing, are there things in life that we are fearful of? And as a result of that, we are so fearful that we let it impact our lives. Or And if we do find something like that, it might be time for us to build a plan to address that fear. Because with fearless and being confident, we have the ability to be courageous. So to help us with that, I've got an article here talking about the 7 habits of remarkably courageous people. These are some of the things that they've suggest here. Courage can help you achieve what you may think is impossible in life. Courage is available to you. Choose to embrace it, to live a remarkable life. One of the most courageous stories of all time is the story of David and Goliath. It illustrates the magnificent power of courage in action. David, a simple shepherd boy, was able to defeat the giant Goliath, a giant warrior. How did David accomplish such a great task? Well, David armed himself with courage to confront Goliath by reaching into his bag and pulling out and slinging one of his stones at the head of Goliath. Impossibly, the stone hit Goliath's forehead, making him fall to the ground, Then David took Goliath's sword to kill the giant, and victory was David's. How many of you have been in a situation where you feel fearful, where you feel that somebody is doing something to you, and they are that Goliath, they are that giant warrior? They have the ability to crush you, to punish you, to make you powerless. And you are so fearful of that person that you are letting them control your life, letting them control who you will become, letting them dictate your future, dictate what will happen to you. Article goes on to say, we don't have to have an army to be able to confront negative things or the people in our lives. As we go through this, think about those negative people, those negative things in your life. Write them down. What are you so fearful of? What is it that you need to have confidence in and be fearless of? Many of our problems and challenges are a direct result of the fear that is within us. It is up to us whether we let fear take control and paralyze us, or be courageous and radically confront it. And the sooner the better. You can learn a lot from fear, things about you and other people. Fear can be a constructive lesson in your life as you act wisely and use it to your own benefit, like David did against Goliath. How do we do this? Face reality. Courageous people accept that they are not in control of things because they understand life is a series of fortunate and unfortunate events. Confront fear. Courageous people trust in themselves and tackle their problems directly by evaluating situations and taking actions accordingly. Have hope. Courageous people are hopeful. They are sustained by faith and are confident that things will work for them in one way or another. We did a show on hopelessness and having hope. And I hope that you have hope right now. If you don't, we need to find ways to be hopeful. Number 4 is perseverance through struggles. Courageous people don't give up. They may fall, but they get up and they fight again as many times as they need to. They keep moving. They are very well aware that struggles are only temporary, and that's what keeps them waiting persistently. Don't waste your energy complaining. Courageous people may express their feelings about their challenges, but they do so without complaining. Challenge themselves. Courageous people like to grow as individuals by stepping out of their comfort zone, to learn new things, try new experiences that will take them to new heights and expand their horizons. Keeping an open mind. Courageous people don't limit themselves by having tunnel vision. They opt to have a 360-degree view of their environment. And I would say that part of getting that 360-degree view, all of these things are built into the strategies that the template that we use to build our strategies on a daily basis. The 360 view is the assess and analyze. If you're going out there assessing your environment, assessing things, you're getting input from multiple people, you are going to have that 360-degree view. Once you have the knowledge, the data, and can put together a truth, that is going to give you clarity. That is going to give you the ability to know what is right, you know what is wrong, you know what you are fearful of. You can be confident because you have the answer. And if you have confidence, and if you know what you had and are no longer fearful of it and are fearless, you can be courageous. And you can change things in your daily life that you might not have otherwise been able to do had you not gone through this process. Courage is a virtue, but I'm telling you, those people who have courage and show courageousness most likely had to go through adversity, They had to struggle at some point to get to a point where they said, enough is enough. I'm not going to take this anymore. I am going to confront my fears. I am going to be confident because I know my truth. And if you know your truth, you can be courageous and you can affect change. You have it within you to do that. You have the ability to do this. The question is, where will you apply your power? Where will you apply your power? What are those things in life that are affecting you today that you know in your heart of hearts need to be addressed immediately? There's got to be something in your life. It could be somebody who has been treated unfairly in your life, or maybe you're being treated unfairly. Is it time for you to become fearless, be confident, develop the courage to stand up to that bully who is pushing you around? Is something happening at work where you need to have courage to confront it? There's lots of situations out there. And I think that's where we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to be confident that by going through this process of uncovering what is fearful, what we're fearful of, and what we fear, and putting together a strategy, a courageous action that needs to take place. In doing that, that is the only way we are going to conquer those fears and ultimately help us get to our final destiny. You're listening to My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins, coming to you live from the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio. When we come back, we're going to help you put your plan in place. We'll be right back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this edition of My Strategy. I am your host, John M. Hawkins. Well, in case you missed this broadcast or any of the other broadcasts that we've done, you can go back and listen in podcast format on many of the digital platforms. Just do a search for My Strategy Radio Show, and you should be able to find one of the topics that we have previously recorded. And if you'd like to have something covered in the show, send an email to talk@johnmhawkins.com. That's talk@johnmhawkins.com, or pick up the phone or your digital device and give us a call at 844-MY-STRATEGY. That's 844-MY-STRATEGY. Well, in this episode, we've been talking about courage and the many benefits of it. Courage does have many benefits. In fact, it's a mindset that we must have if we want to use it effectively. Think about jumping out of an airplane. Once you take that leap out of the airplane, all of your other worries are gone. All you can think about is the situation that you are in. You are laser focused on that activity. There's a difference, though, between being confident and fearlessness, but they are very tightly interrelated. One can have confidence, but if you are fearful, you cannot be courageous. Mixing fearlessness and confidence will give you the ability to take huge leaps. Courage is a virtue that we need to continue to grow, and across history and cultures, people have regarded courage as a great virtue. In fact, we are our best selves when we are confident and courageous. But why is this so powerful? Well, the benefits of being confident is the ability to be yourself, speak your mind, feeling good about yourself, and staying calm under pressure. Now, there's many ways for us to become more courageous. We need to embrace our vulnerabilities, admit we have fears, face our fears, think positively, reduce our stress, demonstrate our courage, no failure, always be pressing forward, cope with risk and uncertainty, continue to learn and accept those challenges. But knowing all of that isn't going to help us unless we develop our strategy. Think about the stories like David and Goliath, where David had to overcome a huge fear in his enemy Goliath and had to take action. He was able to accomplish his goal by confronting Goliath and do the impossible. The question is, what are those fears in our lives that are similar to David and Goliath? How can you prepare to address those fears, be confident in them, and ultimately find your courage and courageousness to tackle them? Well, that's all the show we have for today. It's been a pleasure being with you. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.